It goes without saying that any sufficiently anticipated film with a sizable fanbase is going to invite its fair share of pre-release rumour-mongering, both from those with a genuine inside track and feckless clout clashers just having a laugh. Either way, while there was good reason to believe that each of these recent movie rumours was totally on the money, each was ultimately shown to be dead wrong. So I'm Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are 10 recent movie rumours that were totally wrong. Number 10, Amadeus Cho will appear and tease a World War Hulks movie, Captain America Brave New World. Last October, a supposed full plot leak for Captain America Brave New World was posted on Reddit. And as we've seen time and time again, it's always worth taking such leaks with a truckload of salt. Sprinkle it all over. Yet, in this case, the leak actually turned out to be about 98% accurate. The exception being that it claimed the film would feature a cameo from Marvel character Amadeus Cho, a teenage super genius who succeeds Bruce Banner as the Hulk. According to the leak, Cho would appear briefly at Stark Industries, and a mid-credits scene would then have the leader reveal that Cho had been given the Hulk serum. Prominent leaker Daniel Reichman, whatever it is, claimed that this was intended to lay the groundwork for a World War Hulks movie, where the leader would create an army of Hulks in an attempt to take over the world. However, as anyone who's seen the latest Captain America sequel knows, Cho was nowhere to be seen. But unlike every other entry on this list, it wasn't so much a case of the leakers telling tall tales as Marvel Studios actually removing this element from the film during post-production. Logan Kim had reportedly been cast in the role and indeed filmed a brief cameo as Cho. But as part of the considerable editorial overhauls Brave New World went through before release, he was cut out of the movie. Unlucky Kim. Hopefully he turns up elsewhere. Number 9, Christopher Nolan's new movie is about vampires, or helicopter cops. Helicopters, never mind. The nanosecond that Christopher Nolan starts putting a new movie together, the rumour mill works overtime spitting out leaks and guesswork about what the Oscar-winning filmmaker might be cooking up. And this reached a hilarious fever pitch with his now shooting epic fantasy project, The Odyssey. But for many weeks before it was confirmed to be a blockbuster adaptation of Homer's epic poem, there were some absolutely wild reports about what he was allegedly making. First, it was circulated that Nolan's new film would be a 1920s-set vampire movie, which certainly lined up with the director's previous assertion that he was interested in making a horror film. And then, word came out that Nolan was actually making an action thriller about a pair of helicopter cops, focusing on a mentor and younger protagonist. Now, they both sounded compelling, but they were ultimately totally wrong. Impressively, Nolan's team managed to keep the lid on the truth for 2 whole months after these rumours started doing the rounds, a testament to the respectful secrecy that the filmmaker's productions command from cast and crew alike. Now, what movie are you most looking forward to in the coming years? Is it The Odyssey, or is it something else? You let me know in the comments down below. Number 8, the protagonist is Amanda Ripley, Alien Romulus. Given that Alien Romulus was announced as an interquel set between Alien and Aliens with a female lead played by the rather Sigourney Weaver-esque Kaylee Spaney, fans immediately speculated that Spaney would be portraying Ellen Ripley's daughter, Amanda. Because, of course, when all other attempts to revitalize any movie franchise fail, just go the boring legacy sequel route, right? Give us a new generation of hero who has an intimate familial link to the OG protagonist, letting the studio basically have their cake and eat it, with extra icing. Even accepting that Amanda Ripley has been a part of the Alien franchise since Aliens, and led the hit video game Alien Isolation, it still would have felt desperate and pandering to basically try and soft reboot the series with Ripley's progeny. But despite all the plausible scuttlebutt that this was the case, Spaney's protagonist Rain actually turned out to be a totally new character with no contrived links to other characters in the Alien mythos. Given that Alien Romulus received its fair share of criticism for overtly relying on audience nostalgia for the first 2 Alien movies, it's all the more surprising that the filmmakers didn't actually go the whole cynical hog. So well done them, I guess. Number 7, Sarah Paulson will play Rouge the Bat, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Given that the first two Sonic the Hedgehog movies concluded with fan-serving teases for new characters, Tails and Shadow respectively, it was reasonable to consider who might show up in the third film. And while many fans correctly guessed that Sonic 3 would introduce fan-favourite character Amy Rose at the end, there were those who convinced themselves we'd also get to see super spy jewel thief Rouge the Bat. Moreover, word quickly spread that Rouge would be voiced by none other than the great Sarah Paulson. No matter that the only source for this rumour was an edit on Sonic the Hedgehog 3's Wikipedia page listing Paulson as playing the part. You can never trust that wiki. Paulson herself even debunked the rumour last September when asked about it, though added that she was totally up for playing Rouge if the filmmakers wanted her to. But even with Paulson's denial, some fans were not persuaded until they finally saw the movie for themselves, where both Rogue and Paulson were neither seen nor heard. Number 6, Russell Crowe appears as a vision/ghost of Maximus. Gladiator 2. The moment that Gladiator 2 was announced, many questioned whether the sequel might find a place for Russell Crowe to reappear as the first film's iconic protagonist, Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix legions, and loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. You know the rest. Even accepting that Maximus heroically perished at the end of the original movie, there was absolutely no reason that Maximus couldn't appear to his son Lucius or his former lover Lucilla as a vision in a dream or a spectral presence, right? Simply, many did not believe that Ridley Scott could resist the urge to bring Crowe back. No matter that Crowe has naturally aged noticeably in the near quarter century between films, but in a surprising feat of restraint, Crowe is indeed nowhere to be seen throughout Gladiator 2. Given that the film's final scene sees Lucius mourning his parents in the Colosseum, and would have been a perfect moment to give Crowe a quick cameo, Scott avoided doing the most obvious sentimental thing and just let the moment be Paul Mescal's alone. If you're enjoying this look at recent rumours that were not right at all, then hit that subscribe button down below for even more What Culture videos. They're all great, trust me. Number 5, this is what the Wolfman looks like. Wolfman. Leigh Whannell's new Wolfman film faced a serious PR setback when, last September, reports emerged that the title creature's final design had effectively been spoiled by an exhibit at Universal's own Halloween Horror Nights event. The internet response to the apparent design was merciless, noting how unintentionally comical the wispy hair and cheap makeup looked. Even as some fans tried to quell the hysteria by noting that it would look different under cinematic lighting and judicious camera angles, movie magic and all that. The social media backlash was sustained enough that Whannell himself had to even come out and promise fans that the ultimate Wolfman design in the movie did not look anything like this. And while many were ultimately still disappointed with the decidedly un-wolf-like design used in the final film, it was certainly a look. In the very least, Whannell was telling the truth. It's just a shame that the film's marketing was hobbled right out of the gate by this unfounded rumour. And it's not outrageous to suggest that the viral mockery of this fake design put a serious dent in Wolfman's box office prospects months before it was even released. Number 4, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man will cameo Venom: The Last Dance. Sony's Spider-Man universe rather awkwardly positioned itself adjacently to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything related to it, ensuring that rumours swirled before the release of basically every SSMU movie that's some version of Spider-Man, whether Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, or Andrew Garfield would show up. And at least in the case of the Venom trilogy, there was decent reason to believe it might happen, given that Eddie Brock was dragged into the MCU at the end of Venom Let There Be Carnage, albeit then ripped back into his own dimension in the mid-credits scene of Spider-Man No Way Home. So much for that then. In the months leading up to the release of the final Venom film, Venom: The Last Dance, many online reporters claimed that Andrew Garfield's version of Spider-Man would indeed make a cameo in the movie, just as he'd been previously rumoured to appear in Madam Web earlier last year. But the reason that this rumour took hold online? Because Rhys Ifans, who starred as Dr. Kirk Connors, aka the Lizard in Garfield's first Amazing Spider-Man movie, was cast in a supporting recurring role in the third Venom. To some fans, it was just too much of a coincidence to not mean something. It had to mean something, even if ultimately Ifans played a totally separate character and not Dr. Connors in disguise. And Garfield was nowhere to be seen. Boo! Number 3, Kate is Joe Harding's daughter, Twisters. Much like those alien Romulus rumors, many Twisters fans simply assumed that the new movie's protagonist, Kate, would surely be the daughter of Helen Hunt's original female lead, Joe Harding. More to the point, it was also expected that Hunt herself would make a cameo in the film as Joe, effectively allowing her to pass the torch to a young new lead, as legacy sequels are generally inclined to do. 'Tis the formula. Even though Hunt wasn't announced as part of the cast and wasn't featured in any of Twister's trailers, many still believe she'd make a secret fan-serving cameo in the film. But alas, it wasn't to be. Surprisingly, Twisters doesn't even directly mention Joe or her husband, Bill. Though, as it turns out, Universal did want Hunt to appear in the film as Kate's mother, but it never came together. Now, this may have been a result of Hunt's own offer to write and direct a Twister sequel being rejected. However, it's basically impossible to watch the scenes where Kate hangs out with her mother, Kathy, and not consider that they were almost certainly written for Hunt originally. What could have been, eh? Number 2, Taylor Swift is Ladypool, Deadpool and Wolverine. When the presence of Ladypool was revealed in one of the final trailers for Deadpool and Wolverine, there was immediate rampant speculation on who might be playing the part. Because of course, Ryan Reynolds is not gonna just have a random nobody in the role, right? Well, the overwhelming consensus was that Taylor Swift would be donning the Ladypool costume, given that Swift is friends with Reynolds and was seen out in public with the actor around the time that the movie was being shot. Furthermore, Swift famously dressed up as Deadpool for Halloween 2016, using a costume loaned to her by Reynolds. So there was decent enough ammunition to believe this. Others, meanwhile, theorized that the leggy blonde under the suit might actually be Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively. But as it turned out, both of these guesses were wrong. Well, sort of. First off, Swift had no involvement in the movie whatsoever, while Lively ended up simply providing the voice for Ladypool, but the part was played on set by stuntwoman Christiane Bettridge. There it is then, no Swift. Shake that rumour off. Number 1, Moana has a daughter, Moana 2. When the first full trailer for Moana 2 dropped, fans whipped themselves up into a frenzy debating the apparent possibility that the title character was now a young mother in the sequel. This stemmed primarily from the fact that Moana could be briefly seen holding the hand of a new, very young child character in the trailer, though in reality this is actually Moana's adorable new baby sister, Samaya. Granted, this rumour wasn't terribly believable anyway, given that Moana is just 19 years of age in Moana 2, Disney would be wading into some pretty murky waters here if they went this route. Moreover, would they really want to saddle their plucky protagonist with the baggage of being a teen mother? Yeah, it would seem like a weird choice. And yet, as implausible as it seemed to even a basically critical mind, this theory caught a shocking amount of traction online leading up to Moana 2's release. The internet is a very strange place.